Hi, everybody. It's Mark Rushton of markrushton.com. It is Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. And I'm on lunch break from the day job, just sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. God, nothing has changed. So I'm going to talk about last night and what happened yesterday and last night as far as field recordings are concerned. We're going to take a look at some pictures that I took on my field recording journeys yesterday. But first, I want to talk about something I learned yesterday when trying to distribute some other field recordings. Actually, they weren't. Oh, no, let me back that up. These were not field recordings. And so this has informed me on how I need to categorize field recordings in the future. I know. So much to think about, right? So one of the distributors that I use, I had released a track, which was a musical track, and the main genre was ambient. The secondary genre was, I decided to put as avant-garde because it was a little unusual. But I made a mistake. There's something, and it was something I did not know. I learned that. So okay, they're like, so they said to me, I contacted their customer service about this because what was happening was the track was showing up in Spotify with the band name and then also my name after it, which I had not specified. Sometimes you can specify an additional artist when setting up your tracks, and I did not do that. That's why I have separate band names, right? Like, where did it come from? Did it come from the composer? Yes, it did. Why did it do that? They explained. I figured out why your composer name, Mark Rushton, shows up as a primary artist. The genre avant-garde is processed by digital partners as a classical subgenre. All classical and classical subgenres releases will show composer information as an additional primary artist. The way to fix this would be to change the genre. If there's another primary genre you would like to select, I would suggest doing that. We ended up choosing instrumental. Honestly, I don't really think it makes that much of a difference. Some people are a little obsessed about that, which genre they're into. I suppose that's more of, like certain kinds of rock and roll or country or electronic music, EDM, trance, techno, IDM, whatever. Some people are a little over obsessed with that, and that's fine. You can be over obsessed with that. I only make music for this genre, or I only make music for this genre. But I don't know. I guess I thought it's a little avant-garde. I guess I'm not avant-garde enough. And I'm certainly not a classical composer, right? I'm not a composer in the classical sense. And what constitutes that, right? Does that constitute writing notes on sheet music or sticking forks in pianos? I'm not quite sure. But that's fine. At least I know that. I'll never choose avant-garde ever again. It's fine with me. It doesn't matter. I would never. What's the old Groucho Marx line? I would never want to be a member of a club. I would never want to be in a club that would have me as its member. But that's good to know, right? Like, why is this showing up in Spotify a particular way? Well, there you go. Avant-garde is a classical subgenre, and classical subgenres list the composer. Fascinating stuff. Nothing I can't control it. So I'm just going to let it go. What else can we pick? Let's pick anything that seems reasonable. Instrumental? Perfect. Get it out the door. So again, that's one of the things about kind of moving into working in a new type of field recordings. I have made field recordings forever. But I've never really kind of made a conscious effort to really publish that sort of stuff. I have here and there. But I think the future is being inclusive to these types of things. And I enjoy doing it. I enjoy going out and capturing sounds and editing them a particular way and giving them titles and getting them and then grouping them and playlists and all that sort of stuff. There is a market for this sort of thing. As I like to say, there's a market for everything out there. And it's just a matter of pulling along certain distributors, certain what's the term here, that the digital partners, you got to pull them down the road. It's like Apple still having that 10-minute rule. They won't release a 10-minute single. It has to be part of an album. Just like what? It's just not 2003 anymore. It's time to grow up and evolve your control freakness. I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong with a 10-minute single. I'm not going to make them anymore. I'm not going to make 10-minute singles anymore. I've done that. But why can't, and there's lots of stories out there of artists like that. They're like, oh, we edited it, so it was like 9:45, so we could release it as a single. That sucks. You should be able to release a single you should be able to release an hour-long single if you want, What's wrong with that? Why can't you do that? Because Apple says. All right, we're getting off track there. Let's talk about what I was doing last night there. And because the weather's just been really good lately. And so it's a good reason to get out, do a little walking, do a little recording. The birds have been going bonkers. And of course, we have everything is melted and flowing down the rivers. And it's going to rain for a day or two, and then it's going to get a little chillier, but it's not going to be like super cold or anything. And so John Harnish and I had tried to do some field recordings. I think it was the beginning of late December of church bells and stuff like that. It was so cold. And then we were in a location where there were just way too many cars. So there were some problems with that it just didn't turn out like we thought. So, and then winter really beat us over the head. And so we kicked that can down the road. So last night I went out. I couldn't get a hold of John for a little bit. I think he had a bit of a nap. And so I went down to, let's see if we can I bring this up here? How does this work here? No? Does this work here? Add photos, add text. What do I need to do with this? I have my edit album. I have edited it. What more do I need to do? Add text, add location, sort photos. I don't need to do any of this. What I want to do is look at the photos. Can I look at the photos? Dear God, am I going to have to start this video over again? Add photos, add text, add locations, sort, edit album. Oh, there we go. Gosh, I'm old, dumb Gen X Rushton here. All right, let's get me out of the way here. So, God, jeez, I didn't want to have to do the whole video over. I don't know how many times I've done that today with the day job. I had a problem, and I had to. I won't even go into it. Got it solved, but man, a bit of work. Went down to the roller dam in Coralville, kind of bridges Coralville and Iowa City here at the Iowa River. And this is right outside the restaurant, the Iowa River Power Company. And so there's a footbridge across the river here, right over the roller dam. And this leads you over to the Peninsula neighborhood. And kind of a landlocked, well, it's a peninsula. and there's a dog park back there, and there's little ponds with the frogs that were not making noise. My wife and one of my daughters had been down there, and they said the frogs were really active, but they were not active when I was over there. So got a bunch of these, recordings of the roller dam here in various locations because the sound is always slightly different, kind of off to the side, a little bit more of a splashy, there's a sort of a area by the dining area where you can kind of stand. There's a little bit of a walking trail sort of thing, and you can kind of aim your microphone head on and get that nice white noise rush of sound coming of the water coming over the roller dam. And then, of course, out on these little perches, and then on the little sandy shore over there. Also, after I crossed the footbridge, there was kind of a little homemade trail in the woods. So I went down that and happened upon a couple of geese, a goose. There was a goose and a geese. There was the big white goose, and then the more of the Canadian geese. They were like hanging out and doing this call and response. I have it. You'll hear it eventually. And I got about 4 minutes of that as they plopped into the water. They were quite a distance up. Boy, you could hear it, and I really got it. And then they swam upstream, just constant call and response. It was. I got lucky, and then there wasn't anybody else around, which made that all the better. Because anytime you're by a footbridge, there's going to be people running, bicycling, talking, and so you have to deal with it. That's what edits are for. And then I walked in a little bit, and there was nothing. So turned around and came back. John got a hold of me and said, "Hey, man, what are you doing? I just woke up." And I said, I don't know. I might go home. Come on up. So I drove up to Cedar Rapids, and he wanted to go to one place, and I was like, I don't want to go to a park. It'll be after dark by the time I get up there. Let's just walk around downtown Cedar Rapids. There's more than enough stuff to listen to and record. And he's got a microphone, and so we ventured out, and it was great time. So let's take a look at some of this stuff. So he lives right over by Klingers Paint and Wallpaper, and a little shot of my car and Klingers. I always call it Corporate Klingers Paint and Wall. I'm sure everybody does. Look at that. Isn't that sign great? That sign's just so awesome down there. And there's a Restores nearby. There's a church nearby, and it's just kind of fun to hang out over there. There's a bicyclist going down 3rd Street, and then the train is just real nearby, and the library is just a stone's throw away. So let's keep going. This is the Alliant Energy building, which is lit up at night. And of course, this was actually more blue. You'll see the blue in a minute here. So what they've done is they've attached these very bright lights, I think on about the first or second floor, and they aim up, and so they can change the colors on the building, because the building's white, and it was built in, when was that built? Like the 1970s, I think. Wasn't it originally called the IE, Iowa? It was the IE building, because I always called it, when Ann and I first started dating, I always called it the For Example building. It's the IE building. And then they later rebranded themselves as Alliant Energy. But they've just started doing this here in the last, I don't know how long. And you'll see. It's pretty cool. And so out in front of John's apartment building, during the winter, they would have these sparrows that would roost in the trees. Actually, they would sleep in the trees. And for some reason, they're not doing that right now. It's beginning of April. They have moved 2 blocks over, or 3 blocks over, I do believe. And this is on 2nd Avenue, and I believe 2nd Avenue and 3rd Street, if I'm not mistaken. It's right by the U.S. West Bank. It's just down from, I think it's just down from the World Theater. And anyway, There's hundreds and hundreds of these sparrows in there, and they're all talking. Now, normally at this time of night during the winter, they are all asleep and they're all like this, just, they're not making any noise. But even though it was after dark, they were just chatting, talking, maybe moving branches, but not moving out, right? And you don't want to stand underneath the tree because you'll get hit. And so John and I, just aiming our microphones up there for the longest time. And of course, you get traffic occasionally coming by, motorcycles roaring in the area, sometimes train horns. But most of the time, you're getting this, and this is really interesting. And I'm going to want to do some modifications to the samples on this, and we'll get to playing around in that here in the future. And this is a little bit of a close-up here. It's kind of difficult to get a good photo with just a smartphone. I should bring my nicer camera along. But again, I don't really know how to operate it very well. But as you can see here, there's just hundreds of these birds in here. And they just live they're hanging out, roosting, I don't know what they're doing, right? We noticed that there's a parking ramp right next to it. It's the U.S. Bank parking ramp. And so we took the elevator up to the 6th floor, and we were able to look down on the trees. And so we were able to get a recording of the birds from above. And this is the 6th floor here of the parking ramp. And this is really, I've never been in this before, even though I lived in Cedar Rapids for like 10 years. This is a great parking ramp because, I mean, look at that metal. Look at the metal, and then you've got open air on the sides, and then you have all that concrete, but particularly the metal. You just get a wonderful echo effect in there. And so it didn't even matter to me that motorcycles would roar by, or the guy in the Mustang showing off his exhaust system for his woman in the passenger seat, which was going on. God, it gets round and around and around. But you get those sounds, you capture those sounds up in there, and they have like an extra special bit of, I don't know, reverb or something. And so you don't even aim it down at the street. You're aiming it within the parking ramp. Just a lot of fun. We spent a bit of time up there capturing sounds from that. I definitely want to go back to this location. And again, this is facing kind of south. Yeah, it'd be south. So this is this would be the what's that building across the street? I guess it's like, is it United Fire? The insurance company, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's a high-rise living place over there by the river. I think that's about 20 stories or so. And then here's another example of the Alliant Energy building. Again, this was all blue, and for some reason and you have to really be careful of positioning yourself and then having to deal with the street lights that are nearby. So you kind of have to block that out. Otherwise it just ruins the color. So this looks a little purple. It's not really purple, it's blue. And we'll see that here in a minute. So John and I, we weren't sure where to go after that. He wanted to go to First Avenue, which is a bit of a loud thoroughfare. And I was kind of like, I kind of want to be a little further away and pick up everything kind of from a distance and see if there's anything that comes off the river. And the other thing I really like about Cedar Rapids in the evening is it's a big enough town where the traffic is very well paced. So you don't, and if you're on a side street like this goes across the river here. And this is Mays Island, which is where City Hall, and I think there's an old, wasn't the jail? The jail used to be there. I don't think it's there anymore. I think they moved that, but like city halls on the island and everything like that. And and then these are just streaks of light. It was not raining or anything like that. But anyway, there's just occasional cars or occasional trucks going by, and that's like, for me, that's like the perfect sort of blend, because then you're not having, like an interstate, which you can see way in the back there, 380 bends around downtown, or First Avenue, which is a main thoroughfare. You get these little less used arteries, and those are the ones I really like recording. This spot was really good here. There was a distant noise from the traffic, a lapping of the river, and then some clinking of flagpoles nearby, because the wind was probably about 15 miles an hour. And then, of course, whenever I see art hanging out, yeah, I'm going to go up and photograph a little bit of it here. So a little bit of Aboriginal art here on display. You'll see more about this here in a little bit. There's a storefront or whatever that's being rehabbed. And this is a nice way to handle things, right? You got an empty space, maybe nobody's in there just yet, whatever. Hang some art in there. That's a cool thing to do. That's really like a big plus. Every empty storefront should have some art hanging in it, right? You want to be an arts and cultural destination? Yeah, do that. Spend a couple of bucks a month on some lighting. It's a cool thing. Yeah, I took photos of the whole bunch there. And then yeah. This is the best shot here. I really liked how this turned out here. You can see the little lights there at the bottom. I think it's the beginning of the second floor, and they just aim straight up. And that's a cool shot. That's a pretty cool shot. And that building looks great lit up that way. Otherwise, if it's not lit up, it's just this, typical early to mid 70s poured concrete building. It's just like, but you throw a little light around it, man. I like that sort of stuff. It's like I always watch. Was it Rambalac? Who's this guy? Who's this videographer who lives in Japan? He's on YouTube, and he mostly walks around Tokyo with his big 4K, fantastic, perfect gimbal setup. And the thing I love about Tokyo, first of all, it's clean everywhere. Absolutely love that. The other thing is, you have these, lit up buildings and videos on the side of the buildings, and the vending machines. I kind of like that stuff. But I like that. That's a good, yeah, it's pretty good here. I may use the lower part, the part that's not branded Alliant Energy, for some sort of graphic in the future. Always be out photographing things for your own personal use, for singles covers, album covers, and stuff like that. So here's a little bit more detail. If somebody's actually watching this video and they're just like, I'm kind of interested in those. Well, here it is. Dreamings, Australian Aboriginal Paintings, Spring 2021. Janelle McLean. Contact Janelle McLean. That's not the artist's name. They had the artist's name on there, and I can't remember it. But anyway, dreamings.squarespace.com. All right, what do we got? Got next? Did we have more? Are we at the end of the line here? Oh, we're at the end of the line here. So let's go back. Let's go back here. So I do have a little. So we were down there just capturing all sorts of stuff. And very early on, we were at, I can't remember the street corner we were at. I think we were on 3rd Street, and it must have been 4th Avenue. And there's like a sandwich shop there, and a couple of sandwich type shops. They were closed. And John was off, kicking street signs and dumpsters and recording the air conditioning systems, that's good. I was just kind of sitting down on the corner, capturing the occasional cars that went through the intersection, because now they have all stop signs downtown, which you think would slow you down, but it actually speeds you up. It's a pretty good thing. They've experimented quite a bit over the years. And so I was down there, and this kid came by on a skateboard, which is kind of rare, because I think there was a sign that said no skateboarding on the sidewalks. I'm like, no one's down here. Why not skateboard on the sidewalks? Skateboarding should not be a crime. And he came past me, and I should always have this thing running. Or if I don't have that one running, I should always have this one running, And John got it. I did not get it. The kid rides by on the skateboard, and John and I hung out at the corner for a few minutes, and we walked around where the skateboarder had gone down the road. Went half block down the road. There's a wallet sitting on the ground, and John picked it up and opened it up, and it was, vertical license, so the kid was under 21. And John goes, I think that's the skateboarder that went through just a couple of minutes ago, and we couldn't see him anywhere. And John was all just like, I'll hold on to this. Obviously, I'll hold on to this until we see. It didn't have any money in it or anything like that. But he's got his ID, and there's probably other stuff in there. And and John was just like, I'll just turn in the police. We'll just drive over to the police station later and drop it off. And anyway, we had gone down to here, which is 2nd Avenue and 1st Street, I do believe. And I was kind of looking up 2nd, and I saw the skateboarder go west, which he had done earlier. And then about 30 seconds later, I saw him go east. I said, John, I think we have the skateboarder. And John was all going to cut down another road. And I'm like, no, let's just go up this way. Because he's retracing his steps. So let's just go up here, and we'll run into him. We get up to 3rd, round the corner, go to about a block and a half. There's the skateboarder looking around. He's just like, oh my God. John pulls the wallet out. This is yours, right? And the kid just looked, dude gave John a big hug. He's like, oh, he goes, I don't have any money in there, but if I did, I'd give you some. John's like, no. We saw you go by, and then we've been kind of looking for you and stuff. And it was a really nice moment. So yeah, go out there and get some field recordings and do some good deeds and get some interesting photos. Look at some art. That was a good night. It's a really good night. I needed to have a good night last night, So good to get out, get a little bit of exercise, get some material for future editing and future, not just releasing as its own, but probably modifying it to a certain degree and perhaps integrating it into other ambient recordings in the future. That's kind of how I like to operate. Get a lot of source material. So anyway, that's it. That's it for today. Just talking about last night and what we did. Yeah, I don't have anything to play, but good stories to tell, I guess. I don't know. Back to the day job here and waiting for phone calls. It's Mark Rushton at markrushton.com. It is Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. And we'll talk to you later.